Hey guys, welcome to the Social Chronicles, a podcast where we talk about the intricacies of dating nowadays and the impact technology has had on it. Our first episode is dedicated to the idea of expectations in dating. Join us today as we delve into the idea of how relationships are being lived out through social media. I'm your host, Daniel Garcia, with
I'm Paul.
I'm Lily.
Chris.
Alright guys, do you think that technology and TikTok and social media has brought an unreasonable expectation on children and teenagers on their relationships, I guess?
Speaking on that, I think it has, because nowadays we always see people are always scrolling to the Instagram feeds and TikTok, and they always see how other relationships are doing and what their significant others are doing for theirs. So it kind of puts that thought into their heads, why isn't mine doing this for me, and why aren't we like this, and I want to be like this. And then you kind of start to have that idea that you need to be like that, and then it's kind of just not organic anymore. You don't want to live your relationship, you're kind of trying to live other people's based off what you see in social media and stuff.
I mean, honestly, I think it's unhealthy because it's just this. Well, it doesn't allow the kids or us teenagers to differentiate between an adult romance and a teenage romance, and so hence it doesn't allow us to enjoy our teenage romance, and instead we're oh well, we have to think about this and we have to think about that. But we're not there yet, you know.
Yeah, I feel they see these on TV shows adults they go to a fancy steak restaurant, but then teenagers, they don't have the money to do that. They're not that mature yet. Instead, they should be thinking about cheaper alternatives to get to know each other better, because those are for more professionalism and towards marriage, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's at this high standard of we don't have the monetary options to be doing all those things, or we can't pay for our partner's ticket, or we can't do this, and that's a really big standard nowadays, especially through social media and what it's built on the teenagers or us.
Yeah, and since we don't really have those monetary opportunities to do that, you're kind of shunned upon, because it looks oh, you're cheap, or you're not willing to do this for your significant other. And then I kind of just places expectations on you always have to support them when we're still kids, we don't have that kind of money and stuff. So it just kind of places a bunch of pressure to be able to perform during a relationship, and that can affect kids especially.
Even aside from that, I don't think it leaves room for experience. You have to already know what you want and be they expect you to know what you want and where you want to be, and it's not you get to experience, or if you make a mistake now, it's oh well, you should have known. No, we're not at that mature level yet, and I think that's really hard.
And aren't most of these relationships for the first time, the first relationship, they're not gonna know.
Yeah, I feel TikTok especially, it's put on a superficial
I mean, what are some examples those videos for Valentine's Day, they're bringing in Pandora things and this big basket with a bunch of gold necklaces and stuff. And I'm bro, I can't afford that.
Yeah, and
or I don't know if I'm willing to do that yet.
It makes it seem like their life is so perfect when it or the relationship is so perfect. I don't know how to explain it, but they're going to a LA County Fair or something, and everything's so bright and colorful and all those things. But then in reality,
aside from that, I think it's kind of rushing a relationship in a way. Or wouldn't you say so? What do you think?
well, wait, can you repeat that?
I feel social media is kind of rushing relationships nowadays.
Yeah, it is, because most of the time relationships are a first time for most teens. They just got out of middle school, they're just going to high school, and they're learning how to treat a woman or a man good. They don't know what to do,
Adding on to them being in middle school, elementary, I feel that goes with the term FOMO. A lot of these kids don't even want a relationship, they're just doing it because they're I don't want to be aside from everybody else. I mean, feeling left out because I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have a boyfriend, I don't have this. When in reality, it's you're not, that's what the pressure is nowadays. You don't get to, the kids are not choosing when they're ready, or they don't know when they're ready, so they're just going head into these relationships and then coming out oh, that hurt, instead of finding that space for themselves where they're hey, you know what, I think I'm ready, I really like this person, not just constantly searching for it, instead of letting it come to them. I think that's something that we don't let happen nowadays. We don't let it come to us. We're kind of rushing it and looking for it, and when you look for something, it might not always be what you want.
So would you say that societal expectations is making it harder to date nowadays?
I would say so. What do you think, Lily?
Yeah, I agree.
Then Who here has a significant other?
Just us two.
Okay, so then when you see like all those TikToks, do you feel like ever like guilty or in your relationship or something like that? That like, oh, I think I could do this for her, or like I think I could do this for him.
I feel like sometimes I do, and like sometimes I also get the idea like what if like she's looking at this and kind of expects this from me when like sometimes I like it's like super expensive like dating like dates and like just like gifts. I'm just like what if she expects this from me and like I can't do that because like
See,
I don't
going
really
to
have that
that,
type
would
of
you
stuff.
say like it's because like your communication is kind of diminishing because like instead of communicating to you directly, like she's beginning to communicate through like reposts maybe or like through other factors. Oh, what do you
Yeah, I
think?
think like personally, like from me, like as a girl, I would do that. I think I kind of lack communication and like telling him what I want instead of just like reposting.
It's like it's also not. I wouldn't say like it's necessarily that oh you do it now because you want to. It's like it's a form of communication, right? Yeah, and it's also like you're communicating, but like it's what's become nowadays popular.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, because like like the internet and just like technology has just made it really harder to like communicate because like nowadays people are always like trying to drop like the subliminal hints that like oh hopefully they pick up on it and like why can't they like why aren't we on the same page because like they don't like directly tell them like you said like now it's just like oh like I'll drop a hint maybe if he'll get it maybe she'll get it but like eventually like if that doesn't work then like it just kind of like your relationship just kind of like dies out because of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like technology and texting in general, like it's like really unreasonable. Like they expect their partner to do better, and then they would ghost them, which is a whole other thing. Like just ghosting in general, not communicating with your significant other, and
Yeah,
things like that.
ghosting is like a big thing right now. People come and go, they ghost, and it's crazy.
Yeah, like nowadays, like you can be talking to someone for like a month, and then drop them, and then like a week later you're already onto someone new. Like
Yeah, like failed situationships. Like that's what it is.
I feel like social media is kind of like dehumanizing these relationships. Like it's like ghosting is like such a like not an anti-social thing, but it's such a like it's so it's such a I think it would be like a messed up thing in a way.
You don't really ask someone out on a date like in person now. You
Yeah.
kind of like call them up or text them, snap them. Like it's not
Right.
like in person, like
Yeah.
giving them flowers and like doing it in like a formal way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would you say like so then would you say it's kind of dehumanizing your relationship in a way?
Yeah.
Like slightly.
Because everything's going through your phone.
Like it's hard. Like if you ever, well, how do you guys deal with problems in your guys' relationships?
Well, if there's a problem, we bring it up, but like, it probably wouldn't happen in person. Like, probably wouldn't talk face to face. Like, oh, like we need to talk. Like, I need to talk to you. Like, this is going on. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
I feel like that's more like when you're deeper into a relationship. Like you're like far in. Like more than a couple months. Like at least like a year or so.
Yeah, I
Like-
think still like in the very beginning, like you have problems and you go through it. You go throughout the whole day, like feeling these emotions and like keeping your problems in. And then once you get home and you're now you have the ability to like call them or text them how you feel. You don't really explain it to them in person anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like now all of our feelings just go through like texting and like calling them so they don't virtually see how we're feeling. You know?
Yeah. I see what you mean.
Yeah, but don't you guys feel like texting and like calling is kind of shallow? I don't explain it, but like I feel like talking to them in person is just like more genuine, and you could like
Well, like I don't think it's like, personally, I don't think social media is a bad thing. Like I don't think it's a bad thing if you know how to use it and you're properly taught how to use it. Especially in a relationship, it could be like texting can be a good thing, but I like from the perspective that you're talking about, I see what you mean. Like, I think it all comes down back to that maturity level thing. Like, know when to text, know when to talk in person, when like know the meaning, and not the meaning, know like what things are valued to, and when and where they should be talked about.
Yeah, and kind of just like going on to like what we were talking about like talking about our relationships. Like there's just one person that I know that I'm close with, and like they would have multiple like things going on in their relationship, and like they never talked about it. But like I would always see like reposts or like their Instagram notes like subliminally like hinting at it, and it's like they don't go out of the way to actually like make it apparent to the person that like they're actually going through something, like there's problems in the relationship. Instead they would rather just like try and hint at it and hope that they pick up on it.
Yeah, do you think like people just feel the need to like post everything now? Like post like how now they're feeling instead of even just going like straight to the person. They want like not everyone to know, but they want to make it like public to everybody. Even with like Instagram posts, like posting where you're at, like going back to the very beginning, we're talking about how the maturity levels and like how every older like relationships go out like to fancy restaurants and everything. Like they're always posting like where they're going. Just like now with problems in relationships, we're also posting about how we're feeling and what's going on in our personal relationship.
I think it just kind of ties back to like maturity, really. Like how we were talking about like how you're getting like rushed into relationships because like you want to like fit into society. Like you're still young, like you don't really understand what you're doing yet. So like you haven't matured enough to know how to be able to handle these situations and like actually like talk to your significant other about your problems, which then just leads to like more problems further down the road, which then just leads like to fall in relationship.
Like tying this back to social media, I think that like social media is kind of like setting that standard of like, hey, you should already know like this and that. You should know how to treat me. You should know how to react. You should know like
know how you're feeling.
Yeah, you should know all this. When in reality, like, there's a big difference between adult romance and teenage romance. Not saying it's not gonna last, but saying like, hey, like, there's more experience to be valued there, and more experience to be like, taken in, you know. And it's not really like fair to the partner, especially if they're just reposting and not communicating. And that's what social media deprives us of nowadays.
Yeah, like teenage romance could be like reckless, I guess. Do you guys remember the book we read, Romeo and Juliet? Yeah. So they rushed into the relationship like they're not even like mature enough, and then look how they ended up. Like I feel like that could like be almost like similar to how dating is nowadays.
Do you think we've lost like the perception of love? Like they really loved each other like right from the start.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know if I feel like love back then was like a lot more genuine than it is today, because like losing feelings is like almost so easy nowadays because of all the things you see online and all those things, and other factors can be like your friends telling you, oh, they're bad or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to get in a final word?
I think we said it all. Like, social media has negatively impacted a teenage romance. Not saying negatively impacted adult romance, but more so a teenage romance. I think it's unhealthy. I don't know if you guys agree.
Yeah, I don't think it's right. Okay, thank you for watching, and make sure you guys tune into the next episode of In What Ways Do Social Media and Dating Apps Affect Self-Esteem or Self-Love Within Oneself.
Thank you.
Thank you.